There are 5 appliance brands in Britain that people quietly look down on, brands you would be slightly embarrassed to point at in a showroom, that are outlasting the premium machines costing 2 and 3 times as much. And the companies selling you the expensive ones are counting on you to keep believing that a higher price tag means a longer life. By the end of this video, you will know the exact 5 brands worth buying, the premium names that do not reward the money on reliability, and the one number you should check before you spend a penny. Here is the contrast that gives the game away. 2 neighbours buy washing machines in the same month. One spends £1,100 on a beautiful, design-led premium machine with a touchscreen and a famous badge. The other spends £280 on a Beko, the kind of brand the first neighbour would never admit to owning. 6 years later, one of those machines is dead, written off, uneconomic to repair. It is not the Beko. The Beko is still running, on a 10-year parts guarantee, and it has never missed a wash. This is not a fluke, and it is not a sad story about one unlucky machine. It is what the reliability data shows again and again. Price and reliability are 2 different things, and the industry has spent decades quietly hoping you never separate them in your head. That is not bad luck. That is the business model. Price was always the costume. Let me explain why this matters more in Britain than almost anywhere else, because the conditions here turn brand snobbery into genuine money lost. Start with the prices we pay. The UK frequently pays more than the rest of Europe for the same appliances, which means the premium for a prestige badge is steeper here than almost anywhere. When you overpay for a name, the gap between what you spent and what you got back in actual reliability is wider in Britain than across the Channel. Then there is the hard water. Across much of the south and east of the country, limescale is relentless, and limescale punishes complexity. A simple, robust budget machine with fewer delicate parts copes with hard water far better than a feature-stuffed premium machine with a touchscreen, a dozen sensors and a sealed drum full of clever electronics. The exact conditions most British kitchens have are the conditions that reward simplicity over sophistication. Every additional sensor, valve and heated component is one more thing for the scale to attack, which means the machine with the most features in a hard water home is often the one with the most ways to fail at the parts problem. When something does fail, what matters is whether a cheap part is sitting on a shelf in a UK warehouse, or whether you are waiting 3 weeks for a component to come in from the continent. Brexit has made parts from EU suppliers slower and dearer, and that hits premium imported machines hardest. The cheap brands win here precisely because their parts are everywhere and cost almost nothing. The system is not stopping you buying a reliable machine. It is just betting that you will choose the expensive badge over the boring one, and in Britain that bet costs you more than it costs anyone else. I want to be transparent about how this is built, because most best appliance brand lists online are quietly steering you toward whatever pays the highest commission. This rests on 4 things. First, the which, Large Appliance Reliability Survey, the July 2025 round of which covered more than 5,500 washing machines alone, scoring brands on how many develop faults, how quickly, and how badly those faults hit everyday use. That distinction matters because a reliability score built on real owners living with their machines for years tells you something a glossy in-store demonstration never can. Second, the day-to-day experience of independent appliance engineers who see which brands they are called out to again and again and which they almost never touch. Third, parts availability and cost, because a brand is only as repairable as its cheapest shelf. And fourth, the length and seriousness of the guarantees the brands themselves are willing to put in writing, which is the closest thing you get to a manufacturer telling you the truth about its own machine. No manufacturer paid for placement here. The premium brands in particular would much rather this video did not exist. That is roughly how you know it is honest. To understand how price and reliability came apart, you have to understand what you're actually paying for at the top of the market. There was a time when a more expensive appliance was simply a better built one. More metal, better bearings, a stronger motor. You paid more and you got more machine. That link has weakened because of what premium brands now compete on. 2 things changed at the same time. The first is that the top of the market moved the battleground from engineering to features and styling. Touch screens, app connectivity, brushed steel finishes, retro colours, Wi-Fi, auto-dosing. These things add cost and they add price, but every one of them is also another component that can fail Another sensor, another board, another thing sitting between you and a working drum. A large slice of a premium price now buys complexity and appearance, not durability. The second is that the budget brands went the other way. To survive on thin margins, they kept their machines simple, kept the parts cheap and plentiful, and competed on the one thing that actually keeps a customer loyal, not breaking down. Beko, to take the clearest example, now backs its large appliances with a 10-year parts guarantee, something most premium brands will not match, and it does so precisely because its simple machines do not cost it much to stand behind. A brand that genuinely expected its machines to fail at year 3 would never offer to supply free parts for 10. The length of a guarantee is a confession about how long the manufacturer really thinks the product will last. So the gap opened up. At the top, you pay for the badge, the screen, and the finish. At the bottom, the right brands are quietly selling you the bearing and the warranty. The premium machine looks like the safer buy because expensive feels like a promise. But a promise is not a fault rate, and the showroom never shows you the fault rate. Let me show you exactly which 5 brands get that balance right, and why each one earns its place. Number 1, Beko. Let me be honest about the snob factor first. Nobody brags about a Beko. It is the brand your design-conscious friend would never display. But Beko is the single best-selling large appliance brand in the UK, and that scale is the whole point. It means parts are everywhere, cheap and instantly available, and it means any engineer in the country can fix one. When a brand sells in those numbers, a failed pump or a worn belt is a common, stocked, £15 part, not a special order. The machines are deliberately simple, which in a hard water country is a strength, not a weakness. And the 10-year parts guarantee on its large appliances, free if you register within 90 days, is a longer commitment than most premium brands dare to offer. Beko explicitly frames that guarantee as encouraging repair over replacement, which is exactly the opposite of the disposable model. The genuine caveat is that some Beko models use sealed drums like everyone else, so you lean on that guarantee rather than on DIY repair. With the guarantee registered, it is the strongest pound-for-pound buy in Britain. Number 2, Hotpoint. Another brand people quietly sneer at, and another one that keeps running long after the sneering stops. Hotpoint has been a fixture in British kitchens for generations, and that history is exactly why it works. The parts network is vast and cheap. The designs are simple and well understood by every engineer alive, and the older serviceable drum models in particular keep going for 15 years and more on routine, inexpensive repairs. There is a reason you still walk into kitchens and find a Hotpoint that has been washing since before the children left home. The honest caveat is that reliability varies across its range, and the newer sealed models are less repairable, so check the specific model. But as a brand whose faults are cheap and easy to fix, it punches far above its price. Number 3, Indesit. This is about as unglamorous as an appliance brand gets, and that is precisely the appeal. Indesit machines are mechanically simple, stripped of the gimmicks that fail, and they share much of their parts and engineering with Hotpoint under the same group ownership. That means the same vast, cheap parts supply, and the same army of engineers who can fix them with their eyes closed. You're not buying features, you're buying a machine that does the job and is trivially cheap to keep alive. The caveat is that the wash performance and finish are basic, but if your priority is a machine that survives and costs almost nothing to repair, Indesit is hard to beat. Number 4, Zanussi. Once marketed as the appliance of science, Zanussi sits in the affordable tier of the Electrolux empire, and it quietly shares a great deal of its engineering with its far pricier sister brand. That is the hidden value, and it is worth saying plainly. You are getting much of the same underlying design as the premium badge above it, at a fraction of the price, with the same cheap and available parts. The factory does not build a completely different, worse machine just because a cheaper name is going on the door. Zanussi machines are straightforward, robust, and easy to service. The caveat, as with all of these, is that you should check the individual model's reliability rating rather than assume. But as a way to buy solid engineering without paying for the prestige nameplate, Zanussi is a smart move. Number 5, Hisense. This is the newcomer, the value brand that has come from nowhere to genuine respectability. Hisense machines consistently post some of the lowest running costs on the market. The reviews on its recent models are strong, and the prices remain low while the build quality keeps climbing. In a country panicking about energy bills, the low running costs matter, because that is money saved every single week for the life of the machine, not a one-off at the till. The brand has also been willing to back selected lines with long guarantees, a sign of a company trying to buy its way into trust through reliability rather than marketing. The honest caveat is the one you would expect from a brand this new to the top tier. It does not yet have the 20-year track record of the others, so the long-term data is still being written. But on current evidence, Sense is the budget brand most likely to embarrass a premium rival over the next decade. Before I show you the expensive brands these 5 are outlasting, do something for me. Drop a comment right now and tell me 2 things. What is the cheapest appliance you have ever owned that simply refused to die? And what is the most expensive one that let you down early? My guess is that a striking number of you are going to name a budget machine that has gone on for a decade or more, and an eye-watering number of you are going to name a premium badge that failed years before it should have. That is not you being unlucky. That is the gap between price and reliability, showing up in your own kitchen. Now, the part the premium brands would rather you skipped. The expensive names that do not reward the money on reliability. And I want to be fair and precise here, because this is about value, not insults. The clearest pattern is the design-led brand. Take the retro, pastel-coloured premium machines that people buy largely for how they look in a kitchen. They are genuinely beautiful, and the styling is the product. But reliability surveys consistently fail to place these design-first brands at the top of the durability tables, which means a large part of that premium price is buying appearance, not a longer life. You're paying for the colour, the curve, and the way it photographs, and those things do not extend the life of a motor by a single day. If you love the look and you go in knowing that, fine. Just do not mistake the price for a promise of reliability. The second pattern is the tech-heavy fridge and the feature-stuffed flagship. Independent repair technicians repeatedly report that the most complex, feature-packed premium fridges, especially the large American-style and French door models loaded with ice makers, water dispensers and touchscreens, generate a disproportionate share of their service calls. Consumer reliability data backs this up. The simpler the design, the lower the breakdown rate, with feature-heavy fridges breaking at noticeably higher rates than plain top freezer models. The flagship is not more reliable for being more advanced. It is often less reliable, because every clever feature is another pipe, another valve, another board, another thing to go wrong, usually the week after the warranty ends. The third pattern is the premium badge sitting on shared engineering. Several of the most expensive nameplates are owned by the same groups as the affordable brands beneath them and share a great deal of the underlying machine. When you pay a large premium for the prestige badge over its budget sibling, a good chunk of that extra money is buying the name on the front, not a fundamentally different machine inside. The reliability difference often does not justify the price difference. You can sometimes find the affordable sister brand and the prestige one sharing the same drum, the same motor, and the same basic chassis, separated by a few £100s and a different sticker. The premium one is not 3 times more reliable, it is 3 times more expensive, which is not the same sentence at all. None of this means premium machines are bad. They are frequently quieter, better finished, more efficient and nicer to use. They are simply not reliable in proportion to what they cost, and that is the specific thing you are being encouraged not to notice. So here is what you actually do. Write these down. Rule 1. Check the reliability rating, not the showroom. Before you buy anything, look up the brand and the model in an independent reliability survey, the kind that scores fault rates over years, not the glossy spec sheet on the shop floor. The number that matters is how many of these break and how soon, and it is almost never the number on the price tag. A salesperson is paid to move you up to the dearer model. A reliability survey is not paid anything, which is precisely why you should trust it over the person standing next to the display. Rule 2. Check the parts and check the guarantee. A brand is only as good as its cheapest available spare part. Favour brands with parts that are plentiful and cheap in the UK, and favour the ones willing to put a long guarantee in writing. A 10-year parts guarantee, like the one Beko now offers, tells you the manufacturer expects the machine to last. A 12-month guarantee on a premium machine tells you something too. Rule 3. Favour simple over clever. Every touchscreen, every app, every auto-dosing gimmick is another component that can fail out of warranty and write off the machine. unless you genuinely need a feature, the simpler version of any appliance will, on average, outlast the clever one. Buy the machine, not the gadget. A drum that turns and a heater that heats is the whole job, and everything bolted on around that is just more that can break. Let me show you why this matters, in pure numbers, over 10 years. Option 1. You buy the Prestige badge, £1,100 for a premium feature-heavy machine. It fails in year 6, the repair on a sealed, complex machine is uneconomic, and you replace it. Even if the replacement is cheaper, you're well over £1,500 across the decade, and you have sent one machine to landfill. Option 2. You buy the boring brand. £280 for a simple machine from one of our 5, backed by a long parts guarantee. Over 10 years it might need one cheap repair, £50 to £150 with the parts covered. Your total is under £500, the machine is still running, and nothing has been scrapped. You have also spent 10 years not thinking about your washing machine at all, which is the entire point of owning one. Put those two paths side by side, and the Prestige machine has cost you roughly 3 times as much to do exactly the same job, badly, for fewer years. The cheaper looking choice is once again the cheaper choice in reality. The expensive badge bought you a finish, a screen, and the quiet approval of anyone who saw it in your kitchen. It did not buy you more years. The most expensive part of a premium appliance is very often the name written on the front of it, and that name does not wash a single shirt. So here is the bottom line. None of this is about pretending cheap is always better, because the cheapest own brand tat is genuinely poor. It is about a specific, provable fact that the industry would rather stay blurry, that price is a weak predictor of how long an appliance lasts. The 5 brands we named were not because they are cheap, but because they are simple, their parts are everywhere, and the right ones now stand behind the machine for a decade. Reliability is bought with simplicity and parts, not with prestige, and those two things have almost nothing to do with the price on the ticket. The badge you were taught to admire was, in a great many cases, the worst buy all along. Do not be impressed by the price. Do not be embarrassed by the brand. Be informed about the fault rate, because that is the only number that ever cleans your clothes. The showroom is built to sell you the feeling of a good machine. The reliability data is the only place you find the machine itself. Do not be a snob about it. Be informed about it. If this video saved you from a costly mistake, subscribe now so you never miss one, and send it to anyone about to spend a fortune on a badge when a boring brand would have outlasted it. Because more often than you would think, the cheap one wins.